You've seen most of my bookshelves already, most of them, but I want to show you what's actually on them. So let's go. Hi friends, and welcome to today's chapter of our quest. Yes, I am finally filming my bookshelves tour, and because they are in two different rooms, I thought I would make two different parts. So welcome to the first part of my bookshelves tour, and today we are in our living room, and you see the bookshelf that I will be taking you through right here behind me. And what I will be doing is I'll simply go through each and every shelf, I'll show you all of the books, and for some of them I'll tell you a little story about, I don't know, where I got it, why it means something to me, and all these kinds of things. And yeah, I always love watching bookshelf tours because I get to know the book collection of the creators I like and watch, and I know that it will be fun filming my own, and I hope you will like watching it as well. So without further ado, let's go through the first bookshelf, shall we? So here you have our whole bookshelf, and let me just briefly explain a few general things. So first up, you can see that we don't really have a lot of knickknacks because we just don't really have the space for it. The only thing we really do have is at the very top here, we have a lot of plushies. For example, we have Rocket, and we also have some of these reversible octopi plushies or Kraken. They are really cute because if you reverse them, like, as you can see here, one of them is smiling, right? But the others are frowning. And if you reverse them, they do the exact opposite of what they're doing right now. And they also have different colors, so they're really cute. And we also have a really big one of them right here. And he is looking towards the door of our apartment, actually. So he is basically the first face you see when you come into our apartment. He will greet you, and yeah, we love him. And as you already saw, we also have a lot of DVDs up here, and mostly series actually. So Teen Wolf, for example, we have Smallville, Dr. House, NCIS, and yeah, just a lot of DVDs because we didn't really have any other space for them. And here on the left side, we also have one of the Harry Potter audiobooks. This is the more adult one, and yeah, so this was the very top of our bookshelf. And if we go right here to the right, we can see my mom's book collection, because we decided that we would put all of her books on the right side and all of my books on the left. And in the middle here, we have our DVD collection. And let me tell you, this isn't even all of it. We have so many DVDs in our apartment. We love stories in all shapes and forms. And so yeah, we are really big movie fans as well, and this is just part of our DVD collection. But yeah, so I won't tell you all that much about this side of the bookshelf because, as I said, it's my mom's side. And to be honest, first of all of these books are in German, and second of all, I haven't read them, so it wouldn't make sense for me to talk about them. So yeah, I will only talk about this side of the bookshelf, which is mine. So let's start with this top part here, and this is pretty self-explanatory. So what we have here are 5 Percy Jackson books by Rick Riordan. It is the original Percy Jackson series, so Percy Jackson and the Olympians 1 through 5, and I can't very well take them out here because they are wedged in here pretty tightly. And so yeah, these are the German editions. I have read them in German, but I usually reread them now by listening to the audiobook in the English version. And I also have the audiobook for this series here, so the Heroes of Olympus, and the last one is down here, the Blood of Olympus, because it just wouldn't fit on this shelf anymore, so I put it down here. And these are the English version, so I do have the English books, but to be honest, I never read them. I only listened to the audiobooks. And the same goes for the Apollo series, so the Trials of Apollo. These are the English books, but I haven't read them. I've only listened to the audiobooks. And then up here I have the 2 English editions of the newest Percy Jackson books, so Wrath of the Triple Goddess and the Chalice of the Gods, and I have read these. I don't own the audiobooks for these ones, so I have read them. And then next to it we have The Sun and the Star, also by Rick Riordan. This is the book about Nico and Will, and to be quite honest, I unfortunately didn't really like this. I think it wasn't really written all that well, but I still have it because Nico is my favorite character, and so yeah, I definitely need to keep this book. And then here we have Sagen des klassischen Altertums, so this is a German version of all the Greek legends. I haven't read this one yet, to be quite honest, but I know most of these legends because I took Latin in school and we discussed a lot of them, so I feel like I've read it, let's say it like this. And then right here we have the Iliad, and I have read this one, as I've told you before, so I definitely recommend reading this one because even if you know the legend already, if you've watched Troy, for example, it will be a whole different experience reading this one, and it will be worth it, trust me. So yeah, we basically started with my Greek shelf, if you will, and I have one more shelf that includes books like these. So let's scoot over to the right and look at the next 2 shelves. So on these 2 shelves, we first have the Odyssey by Homer, and I also read this one. Then we have the Aeneid by Virgil in the German version. I haven't read this one yet. I definitely need to. And then here we have 2 books that I got for my studies of Greek mythology back at San Diego State University. These were written by the teacher that we had, actually. And next to it we have some of Madeline Miller's books. So I have Galatea, I have The Song of Achilles, and Circe. I've read all of them. These books definitely deserve the hype that they got. I think Galatea deserves way more hype than it gets. I know it's only a really short, small book. It's a novella, but I honestly think it deserves so much more hype. Okay, and then next to it we have some German books here by Kai Meyer and Josephine Angelini. This trilogy is also based on Greek mythology. Then we have some fairy tales by Christian Andersen, and here we also have, I don't know if it's called Wolf's Blood in English, but it's by Jack London. I will put the correct English title somewhere on the screen for you. And then up here we start with some books that are like generally based on legends. So Wonderlands is a collection of tales about different magical realms. Then we have Robin Hood, obviously. I talked about this before, I haven't read it, but it's like this really beautiful edition, this Barnes & Noble edition, and yeah, I really should read this one. And then right next to it we have a retelling of the Trojan War by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This one is in German as well. And we have The Heirs of Avalon, I think it might be in English. So yeah, also by Marion Zimmer Bradley. So here we just have basically more books that are based on legends. And then right next to it we have the Graceling Realm series by Kristin Cashore, and this series is kind of frustrating to me because these 3 books are in German and these 2 are in English, and every single book except for these 2 is a different type and looks different, and I don't know, it's just frustrating. Why do booksellers do this? Like, why do publishers do this? I mean, yes, of course I have German and English, but still, like, these 2 are English, and I wasn't able to get this kind of version, this edition of the last book. So what was I supposed to do? Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but oh well. And then I have to confess something, because I know that there are people out there who hate double stacking their books, because obviously you don't see the books that are behind, right? You only see the ones in front, but I just don't have enough space, and so I had to double stack. And that's why I do have books behind here. So if we just take away the ones in the front, we will see the ones in the back revealed. And this is kind of a mix of different books. So here we have The Mist of Avalon, again, Marion Zimmer Bradley. It's the King Arthur story kind of retold from the women's point of view. And then we have Philip Pullman's, what is it in English? The Dark Materials, his Dark Materials trilogy. So the Golden Compass, these books. In the German version, we have Peter Pan here. And unfortunately, I really didn't like this one. I love all of the movies, but the book wasn't for me. But yeah, I still have it, at least. And here we have a German book by Isabel Ebedi called Isola. It is kind of Hunger Games-esque, to be honest, because we have a group of teenagers that is sent to a deserted island, and they are meant to kind of play a game, and they don't really know what kind of game they're supposed to be playing, but it soon becomes apparent that this is a game that might end in death for at least some of them. So yeah, it is kind of Hunger Games-esque, and I really, really liked it, and I definitely recommend it. If you like the Hunger Games, try reading Isola. I think you might like it too. Then next to it, we just have two more German books that I didn't throw away yet, but to be honest, I don't really remember all that much about them. Another Marion Zimmer Bradley book, I haven't read this one either, but I think it might be similar to The Mist of Avalon. And then we have Jojo Moyes' in German, Ein ganzes halbes Jahr. I don't really remember the English title. Again, I will put it on the screen, but it was made into a movie with the actor who plays Finnick Odair and Emily Clarkson, the one who plays the dragon princess or queen in Game of Thrones. Yeah, you notice I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I'll put the correct names on the screen for you so you will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is the book on which this movie was based on. Alright, let's switch over to the dragon section of my collection. So first up here we have Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funke. This is the German version that I already showed you in one of my other videos. And then here we have some more books about dragons that are in German. To be honest, I don't remember all that much about them because I read them when I was, I think, in middle school and even before that. And so, yeah, I don't really remember the plot all that much. But I mean, they were my introduction to dragons along with the inheritance cycle. And so I am keeping them because they have kind of sentimental value to me, and who knows, maybe I'll read them again sometime. And then obviously here we have the famous Fourth Wing and Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. But to be quite honest, I think I will leave it at that. I don't know if I'll continue reading this series. I mean, yeah, these books are just so beautiful. So, I mean, especially Onyx Storm here. Yeah, I have the special edition and it's just so beautiful, and I might want to get the fourth one whenever it comes out, but I'm really not sure because I really liked Fourth Wing, but then I didn't quite like Iron Flame as much, and I didn't like Onyx Storm at all. It's not a good book, in my opinion. So yeah, I really don't know if I'll continue on with the series or not. And so yeah, please let me know, will you read the fourth one when it comes out, or will you skip it? Yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you will do and what you think I should do. And then in the back here, we have some more German books about dragons. So let me just pull some of them out. Or rather, no, I won't pull any of these out. I'll just show you the spines, because similarly to what I told you before, these are all books that I read in middle school and even before that, or that my mom read to me. Especially, I remember her reading this one to me, and they are all in German, and I don't remember a lot about them, to be quite honest. So yeah, I can't tell you all that much, but I do remember liking them and having fun reading them. And so if you understand German, if you can read these titles and might want to read these books, then I definitely recommend them. And yeah, I'm just keeping them for sentimental reasons again, so And then right next to Fourth Wing, we have the Inheritance Cycle and Mortug, and I am really proud of especially this edition because, again, it is the Barnes & Noble edition, and it is special because I have Christopher Paolini's signature right here. So yeah, it was worth the wait because I waited a long time for this one to get here to ship, but it was definitely worth it. And I don't think that I have to tell you all that much about these books. Let me just tell you that they hold a very special place in my heart because I used to have 3 different book series that were kind of my ultimate book series and my go-to book series that I thought were the best ones in the world. I had Eragon, I had Harry Potter, and The Lord of the Rings, and these were just my all-time favorites. And Eragon is still up there because it's really well written, and it's just so impressive to think about Christopher Paolini having been a teenager while writing these books, and yeah, they still hold a special place in my heart, to be honest. And then right next to it we have Fireborn, Flamefall, and Fury Song by Rosaria Munda, and I think this is a pretty well written and nice dragon trilogy. The books are beautiful. Again, I really like the covers. And I like the character development in this series because, especially during the second one, you tend to get kind of frustrated with some of our characters, but they definitely mature over the course of this trilogy and they learn to be better people, better dragon riders, better fighters. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this trilogy because it includes a lot of interesting themes as well, important themes. So it is one of the better dragon trilogies out there, in my opinion. And here on the left, we have the series that I've been talking on and on about. We have the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik, 1 through 9. And the spines make a beautiful picture. I really love this edition, and it is the English edition. I haven't read it in English. As I told you before, I've only listened to the German audiobook, but I am planning on reading it because, yeah, these books are just so beautiful, and I just know that I will like her writing style, so yeah, I'll definitely read this one. All right, and then right next to it, we have the Natural History of Dragon series, a memoir by Lady Trent, written by Marie Brennan, and this book series was recommended to me by Murphy Napier. I mean, not directly to me, but she recommended it, she liked it, and I started reading it, and I really like it. I mean, first of all, these books are beautiful, right? Each and every one has a dragon on the cover and different colors, so it's really a beautiful series, but it's also so very well written and interesting and gripping, and you learn so much about these different species of dragons all around the world, and she finds different dragons everywhere she goes, and it's just really interesting because she studies them, right? So you learn scientific facts about a mythological creature, which I don't know, I just love it. It's a really well-written series, and I definitely recommend it if you like dragons. And if you like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, then you will like this because it's a very similar idea and kind of story, but with dragons instead of fairies. And then here we have Legends and Lattes and Bookshelves and Bone Dust, and I don't think I have to tell you too much about these. They are really popular on BookTube, and rightfully so. These are so cozy, and yeah, please just read them because they are perfect, especially during fall. Read them during fall. It will be the best decision you could have ever made. And once again, we have some books in the back here. So let me just take the Temeraire series down and show you these 3 books that we have here. So here we have the Maze Runner trilogy by James Dasher, the Maze Runner, the Scourge Trials, and the Death Cure. This is the German edition, and again, I haven't actually read these books. I've only listened to the German audiobooks, but I still keep them because I think they are pretty nicely designed with this maze on the cover and on the back. So yeah, I really like them. And then here we have this kind of desert pattern, and the third one has, I don't know what you would call it, leopard something. Yeah, so I really like these books. They're beautiful, and I will keep them for that reason. So now we are finally starting with my dystopian and science fiction shelves. So let's start with the Monument 14 trilogy by Emmy Laybourne, which I talked about in my video about all the underhyped books that I wish would get so much more love because they definitely deserve it. Then we have my probably most beautiful book in my collection. We have Jurassic Park and the Lost World by Michael Crichton. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. And yeah, I really think that it's such a beautiful book and well written as well, so I definitely recommend this one too. And since I already have this one off the shelf, let's continue here with these two books. These are two of a trilogy, also about a labyrinth, so it's kind of similar to Maze Runner, and these two are in German. I honestly don't really remember all that much about them, but again, I like the books and I might reread them at some point in time, so I'm keeping them. And right next to Jurassic Park, we have another Michael Crichton book, which is called Dragon Teeth, and it's kind of a Western story. I like reading it, but I definitely recommend reading Jurassic Park first, because you will want to kind of get to know Michael Crichton's writing style before jumping into any of his other books, at least in my opinion. His very own writing style, let's say it like that. I personally like it, but I think it might not be for everyone, so maybe start with something a little more familiar like Jurassic Park and then move on to his other works. Then we have one of my all-time favorite duologies. We have Ready Player One and Ready Player Two. I won't tell you more about them because I've talked about them at length in some of my other videos, but yeah, I really love these ones. And then we have Cassandra Clare's Chronicles of Castellane here, Swordcatcher, the first book in this series. It's a beautiful book, but it's also really heavy and big. I only have a physical copy of the first one. I don't own a physical copy of the second one. I have the audiobook of that one. But yeah, I think it looks quite pretty on my shelves, and I think it might stay here for a while. And I'm aware that this is not necessarily science fiction or dystopian, but to be quite honest, it didn't fit anywhere else on my shelves. And as I said before, I don't really have that much space, so I need to utilize that space that I have as best I can. And while I try organizing my books based on genres or kind of themes, sometimes it doesn't work, and Castellane is one of these times, one of these examples. And again, I have some books behind these ones, but it's kind of difficult to get at them because I don't want to have to rearrange these. So I'll just try and get one of them because it is the Inkheart trilogy by Cornelia Funke. So this is the third one. I have all of them in German, and I won't pull out the other ones because it's just too tight back there, but I hope that's okay for you. So yeah, I have the Inkheart trilogy. I did read them and I also listened to the audiobooks. I like it, but now as an adult, I don't think I will ever reread or re-listen to them again. I don't know, it just feels a little teenagey or a little childish, but again, it's a good series and I definitely recommend reading it, especially if you're younger. Alright, let's continue our dystopian journey with The Hunger Games. These are the German versions of The Hunger Games. Yes, they do have a person on the cover and they are really not beautiful, let's be honest. But yeah, I read them in German first. I read them when I was in middle school, and I fell in love with this trilogy instantly, and nowadays, I re-listen to the audiobooks time and time again, and yeah, but I keep the German versions for sentimental value because that's the version in which I read them first, and I think it's important to remember that. Even though I only read English books now, I used to read German books, and I am a Swiss person, and this is just part of my identity, so yeah, that's why I keep them. But then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping I do have in the English versions, and again, it's frustrating. They are different heights. Both of them are by Scholastic Press. I don't know why they do this. Why do they have to be different heights? Yeah, but it is what it is. And then here we have the Legend trilogy by Marie-Lou, and this one actually I only read when I was an adult. I didn't know about this trilogy, or I mean, technically there are 4 books in this series, right, with Rebel. I didn't know about this series when I was in high school, when I was a teenager, and yeah, I only read them when I was an adult, and I think it's a nice series. It's well written. I honestly think it has better character development than, for example, Divergent does. And so yeah, I would say if you like dystopian fiction, Legend is definitely a series that you should read because, again, well written, a lot of good character development, interesting themes, and interesting kind of world building as well, or world destruction, if you will, in Dystopian. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Then I talked about Armada before already, again in my video about underhyped books, because it is by Ernest Cline. It was published in between the 2 Ready Player One books. This is the German version again, and it's just a cute story. It's really cute. We have a heroic teenager gamer actually as our main character, as our protagonist, and he's just so likable and also relatable. And so yeah, I definitely recommend this book to anyone who likes Ernest Cline's works and likes reading about relatable characters that go above and beyond and are just really likable, yeah, and pretty much save the whole world. And then I already mentioned Divergent here because this is actually the Divergent trilogy, the German edition, and these aren't so bad, actually, I would say. I think, yeah, they're not that ugly. I honestly can't remember what the English ones look like, but I think they're not that different. I could be wrong, but I think, yeah, it's definitely better than Hunger Games. The cover, at least, not the series. I mean, yeah, when I first read this series, I had just finished Hunger Games and I was looking for something that might be similar. And I mean, yes, we all know Divergent, right? Probably. It is kind of similar to the Hunger Games, but also very different, especially the third one. I mean, I kind of like that Veronica Roth did something that pretty much no other author does, right, in her third book, because she, spoiler warning, kills off her main character. But unfortunately, it didn't kind of work for me with the whole plot of the trilogy, and that is why I'm really excited to read The Sixth Faction, which is about to come out on the 6th of October, I think, because it will be kind of a retelling, and usually I'm not a fan of retellings. I have, for example, never read the retellings of the Twilight series. I think they are from Edward's point of view, and I've never read them because I think it's just kind of a cash grab. But with this series, I definitely want a retelling, so I'm curious and I'm excited for The Sixth Faction. Then I tried another book by Veronica Roth, which is called Chosen Ones, and to be honest, I kind of liked it. But I also need to be honest with you when it comes to the plot, because I don't remember all that much about it. I just remember liking reading it, and I can't say if I necessarily recommend it, but I remember thinking that the plot made a little more sense than Divergent. And so, yeah, if you want to try another book by Veronica Roth, I think Chosen Ones would be a good pick. Then here we have my Octavia E. Butler collection, and I won't tell you anything about like the individual books because there are so many, and they are really good. I started with this one, Wild Seed. We read this for university actually, and then I was kind of hooked because Viola Davis says here, a book that shifted my life, epic, game-changing, moving, and brilliant. And I think it's a perfect blurb for this book, as it would be for every other Octavia E. Butler book. I don't like each and every one, to be honest. So for example, I didn't really like Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, but she discusses very important critical topics in each and every one of her books. And that's something I definitely commend her for. I would say that is something that she can be very proud of because she does it so well. And I read all of these because I was actually planning on writing a doctor's thesis on all of her works and also Ursula K. Le Guin's works, but it never happened. I had to give up that dream, but I'm still very glad that I've read all of her books because, again, they are very thought-provoking and include a lot of interesting, important topics that are becoming very important again currently. And so yeah, I definitely recommend reading these if you like science fiction, and also if you are not afraid of reading about very brutal worlds that ask a lot of the people that live in them. Alright, here right next to Octavia E. Butler's works, we have the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, and also the Six of Crows duology and the King of Scars duology. I want to be really honest with you, I actually only really like Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I didn't like the Shadow and Bone trilogy all that much, and I didn't like the King of Scars duology all that much. This one is rather slow-paced, and yeah, there's not a lot of plot in general. And for this one, unfortunately, I didn't really like the characters. The Darkling was interesting, but other than that, yeah, I couldn't really get into this one. But I loved Six of Crows because I love Cass Brecker. And again, I am really glad that I snagged these two special editions. So this is the Six of Crows one. It's really nice and beautiful. I love it. And the Crooked Kingdom is just as beautiful. It's by Orion, and yeah, I am fortunate to have snagged these two. I don't know if you can still buy them. If you can, please do. If you like them, please do now, because I don't know how long they will be around, this collector's edition, and yeah, I love them. And then right next to them we have my current new favorite, Once Upon a Wardrobe by Patty Callahan Henry. Again, it's a beautiful cover, but that's really not what this book should be about, because again, I talked about this before. So it's set in the 1950s, and we follow Max Devonshire, who is trying to find out where Narnia came from, because her 9-year-old brother, who is close to dying, unfortunately, due to a weak heart, wants to know where Narnia came from. He has just read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that just came out, and he is so in love with Narnia that he just wants to know where it came from. And since Max is studying at the Oxford University, where C.S. Lewis is teaching, she plans on asking him basically where Narnia came from. And then this is the start of a beautiful, whimsical story that I hope you have either already read or will read soon. And then right next to it we have my German classics, the books that I read during my German studies, because I studied English and German, and I won't pull them out because, I mean, you probably wouldn't know them. I mean, some of them you definitely would know. You might know Bertolt Brecht, you probably know Goethe and Schiller, but yeah, I think it's just not that interesting, to be honest, to be pulling them out and showing you each and every one. But yeah, I have a lot more actually. I will show them to you in my next bookshelf tour video, the second part. But yeah, that's just one part of the books that I had to read during my German studies. And by the way, there are books behind here as well, so yeah, there are a lot. Alright, we have finally reached my romance shelves. And yes, I definitely do have romance shelves, but there are other books on here as well that didn't kind of fit anywhere, so don't be confused. It's not just romance on here, because I honestly don't read a lot of romance. But what I do have is on these two shelves. So here we have one of my all-time favorite series. It's the Maya and Domenico series by Suzanne Whitpenick. Unfortunately, I don't think that this was translated into English, and so I didn't talk about it before because I know that you might not be able to read it, but I wish it was translated because this is just so good. I read it when I was in middle and in high school, and I've reread it time and time again because it has so many important topics as well and themes, because it's about love between Maya, a doctor's daughter, a German doctor's daughter, who is really the wallflower. She is kind of, yeah, we would probably call her a nerd because she really focuses on school and is just always alone. She gets bullied at school, unfortunately. So yeah, she's really shy. She's the typical wallflower. And then there is Domenico. He is Italian, he has a twin, and his childhood wasn't all that happy because he is the son of an Italian prostitute. Yes, I have to say it as it is, and he is used to living in poverty, he is used to living on the street. He is also used to drugs because his twin Domingo is a drug addict. And so yeah, he is living a completely different life from the one that Maya is used to, right? And this 9-book series tells us all about their relationship, their romance, their struggles. And what I especially like about this is that they overcome so much and they only get stronger due to it. They might falter at times, obviously, but yeah, there's just so much character development, and you know me by now, I love a good character development. I am a character-driven reader, and this series right here is perfect for me. And I actually have it twice because these 3 books here are just another edition of Maya and Domenico, and so that's already a good indication of how much I love this series. Let me know if you want to know more about it, if I should make a whole video about it, even though, again, I don't think that it was translated into English, so unfortunately I don't know if all of my English-speaking viewers will ever be able to read it. I hope so, I really do, but yeah, let me know. Do you want to know more about it? But then back here we have a series that all of you will know. I won't pull it out because it's just kind of tightly wedged in there. It is the Heartstopper series. I have books 1 through 5, and I just noticed that I misplaced it, that I didn't put it in the right order, so I will have to change that because it's annoying me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now it's correct. But yeah, so Heartstopper, obviously, I watched the series, I loved it, and then I definitely had to get the books. Then here we have another BookTube favorite. We have The House in the Cerulean Sea. I actually got it because of BookTube, and I quite liked it, but I'm not sure I will ever read another one of TJ Klune's books ever again. Maybe the second one in this series, because by now a second one has been released and I haven't read it yet, so I might read this one, but I'm not all that interested in his other books, to be honest, so I don't know if I'll ever read another one of his books. Then we have Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Earn Hicks. This is so cute and it's perfect for autumn. I usually read it once a year because these pictures are just so beautiful, and it's a nice, cozy story about 2 friends who never really talked about their feelings, and now they are on their last summer together on a pumpkin patch because they work there, and they have a beautiful adventure, really cute, really cozy. They finally talk about their feelings, and I won't give you more spoilers, but yeah, please read it. If you are a fall girl or man, if you love fall, then yeah, I definitely recommend this one. And then we have the 2 Laurie Gilmore books that I've already read, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe and The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Again, really beautiful editions, beautiful books, and I like them, and I will be reading the rest of this series. And then right here next to it we have the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. This is the German edition, and it's actually quite funny because they are called Bite at Twilight, Bite at Lunchtime, if you loosely translate them. So it's kind of the Bite series in German, which yeah, I always found funny, and I actually took off the dust jackets because, to be honest, I don't like the designs. They're just not beautiful, and so I put the naked hardbacks on my shelves. Right next to it we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer, also in the German edition, and then these 2 books, they are in German, and what's really special about these is that they were actually written by a fanfiction author that I know, who has started writing Harry Potter fanfictions and then went on to publish her own books, and I really like this duology. It's about 2 young homosexual men, and one of them has a really stern and strict father who doesn't accept him for who he is. And so yeah, I really liked this duology when I was a teenager, and I still think that it was written pretty well, and I would recommend it, but unfortunately, again, I don't think it was translated into English. If it ever is, I will let you know, and then I would definitely recommend reading it. And then here we have We Were Liars and Family of Liars by E. Lockhart. Two books that didn't really fit anywhere else on my shelf, neither like genre-wise nor space-wise, and so that's where they ended up. Alright, now we've arrived at my school shelf, if you will, because all of these books I had to read during my time at university when I studied English. And so it's basically all classics, and then a few textbooks and like literary theories. So for example, we have William Golding's Lord of the Flies right here. And we sometimes have two copies of one of the same book because I don't know why, but I bought two copies. Sometimes we had to have different copies for different seminars, and so yeah, for example, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, I have two copies of that one. So yeah, I won't go through each and every single book on these shelves because for one, there are a lot of them, because it's not just the front row here, we actually have books behind them too. But I will give a shout out to some of the best ones. So for example, I can show you my favorite book by William Shakespeare. It's The Tempest, because it's really well written and I actually liked the story and I was able to understand it. I think it's not the most difficult to read, and it teaches you a lot about tragic comedy. I don't know if that's the English word for it, but the combination of a tragedy and a comedy, that's basically what The Tempest is, and it's a perfect example of that genre. And yeah, I really like reading this one and discussing it in class, so I definitely recommend reading it if you want to read Shakespeare but are maybe a little afraid of reading his works because they are always a little complicated. And so yeah, I would say this one is a good starting point because I don't think it's that complicated. And then another book that I really loved reading during university is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, because it's just so heartwarming, but at the same time it's heartbreaking, and her writing style is beautiful. It's kind of poetic, but not to the point where you're like, okay, now it gets ridiculous. It's just a beautiful writing style that suits the story she's telling. And the story itself is actually about William Shakespeare and his family life, because he had a son named Hamnet, and there was a tragedy in his family, and we learn what happened and also how he dealt with it and how this all relates to his play Hamlet. And yeah, I really loved reading this book, and I definitely recommend you read it if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Shakespeare and his kind of personal life. Obviously, this is historical fiction, so it's not like a biography or anything, but I personally think you can still learn a lot from this book. Alright, I would say that's it for this shelf because, yeah, as I said, there are just too many books on here. If you want to know more about which of these books I actually read, because to be honest, I haven't read each and every one of them, even though I should have read them during university. Yeah, I just didn't have time, to be completely honest. But yeah, if you want to know more about which ones I actually read and which ones I liked, then please leave a comment and I might film a whole video about these books here. Alright, we're almost through with our bookshelf tour. There's just one more shelf left, and I do still have two shelves that are empty at the very bottom of my part of the bookshelf. But since we unfortunately always inadvertently bump into the books and DVDs that are at the very bottom of the shelf whenever we vacuum, I didn't want to put these books at the bottom because I didn't want them to be damaged. And so my mom, my knight in shining armor, offered to give me this shelf here for the books that I didn't really have any space left on my other shelves. And so yeah, these are pretty much the books that I read over the course of the last few months, except for these ones. These are the first 4 books in Naomi Novik's Temeraire series, and they are in German. But other than that, we have The Spell Shop by Sara Durst, we have The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown, and this one is really, really good. Please read it, especially if you're interested in time travel and want to know or finally understand how it works, because I think this book really does a great job of explaining that part. And then right next to it, we have a book that unfortunately didn't work for me. I know everyone likes Scythe by Neil Shusterman, but I didn't. I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I'm sorry. And here we have one more book by Naomi Novik, but unfortunately this one didn't really work for me. I told you before that I'm not really interested in her other works other than the Temeraire series, because she usually writes fairy tale retellings, which is a genre that I don't really like, that I'm not really interested in. But I did try to read this one just to see if I liked it or not, and unfortunately I didn't. This is a short story called The Summer War, and my problem wasn't the writing style. I love her writing style. It's beautiful, it's very detailed and descriptive, which I usually like, and I liked it here too, but unfortunately I didn't like the subject matter. It's about fairies, and I think I made myself very clear when it comes to fairies. I just don't like them. And that's also the reason why I didn't like this book here. This is so famous, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And again, I loved her writing style, but I didn't like the subject matter. Alright, that's it for the first part of my bookshelf tour. And by the way, if you want to know more about our DVD collection, and if you want me to go through each and every one of them and show you all of it, then please leave a comment and tell me so, because I would love to make a video about it and show you each and every single one of our DVDs, because I think it might make for a fun, interesting video. So there you have it. That was the first bookshelf I wanted to show you. Next week, I am going to show you my other bookshelves, including my Tolkien shrine. So if that's something you're interested in, then please make sure to click on that subscribe button and also activate the bell so you won't miss it. And I'll see you soon for the next chapter of our quest. Bye friends, have a great day and take care.